Greetings guys, I'm Oliver from Brothers in Dice channel and I would like to show you a tutorial how to paint Pan, the mythic god of the wild. This model comes from a brand new game, Mythic Battles Pantheon, Pandora's Box. My colleague Joseph has already introduced many of the figures and models from these beautiful games. And today, as I said, I'm going to show you the tutorial how to paint one of them. First thing is priming the model. I'm going to use a black standard primer. Many painters are using either white or black. I prefer to use black. Once we are done with priming, I will apply the second coat with Camo Medium Brown from Vallejo, mixed of course with Airbrush Flow Improver, which will be base coat for the skin. Second step is to make the skin more light, which I do with Graveyard Earth from Citadel mixed with Elf Flesh from Citadel as well. To reach the effect of zenithal light, we need to apply the color from the top of the model, as you can see right now. Right after that, I will add some more elf flesh to the mixture to make the skin tone lighter. For the final stage or final layer, I use the pure elf flesh. Once we are finished with his skin, we're going to paint his fur parts with Bestial Brown from Citadel. I'm going to paint all the parts and be careful that you will not touch his skin parts which we previously airbrushed. Once we are done with all his fur parts, we're going to wash all of its fur with Agraxed Earthshade from Citadel. Next step is his belt. I'm going to use Dwarf Bronze mixed with Abaddon Black just to make it more darker, but the final effect should simulate the bronze Greek belt. For his loincloth I decided to use Vag Flesh mixed with Abaddon Black to highlight it later on. I decided for this color just because I wanted to put something green on this figure, since we know that Pan is a god of wild and nature. That's why at least something should be green on him. Once we're done with the loincloth, I washed his belt with Agrax Earthshade, and later on I will use some Leviathan purple, and the final stage you will see at the end of the video will be Hawk Turkeys to simulate oxidation. During the time the wash is drying, we can go back to his loincloth and make the highlights nice and smooth. You can do the highlights with pure Vag Flesh color, and later on you can put either white or scorpion green to make some final touches. As I said before, I'm going to add some Leviathan purple wash to his belt to reach the metal look of the whole belt. Next step will be all his bone-like parts, which are his horns and the skull on his belt. I'm going to use the graveyard earth as a base coat for all the bone-like parts. Right after we have all the bone-like parts painted, we will wash it with Agrax Earthshade. For his spear, I'm going to use Mournfang Brown from Citadel, which will be later on washed with Agrax Earthshade as well. As we can see, he's got some straps on his spear as well as arms. For the spear I decided to use Khemri Brown from Citadel. For the straps on his arms I decided to use Mournfang Brown and Graveyard Earth. All the straps are washed with Agrax Earthshade. Next step on his spear will be the stone on the top. I use standard Abaddon Black with Skull White to make some grey and paint the whole stone. next step, I'm going to dry brush his fur with bestial brown in first stage. Followed with bleached bone as a final highlights of the fur. For the next step, I applied some more Leviathan purple wash to his horns, but just in these areas and on his loincloth, just to look it more colorful. It's better when you turn your figure upside down when applying the wash to keep it from leaked downwards. As I said before, for the final highlights of the loincloth, I'm going to use Vag Flesh mixed with Scorpion Green. You can mix it with glaze medium to make it really smooth. One of the final touches on his belt will be highlighting with pure dwarf bronze. Right after the belt, I highlighted his stone on the spear with grey color mixed with Abaddon black and skull white. Just like that. Followed with washing with nolan oil. To put more life in his skin, I used Rakeland Flesh Shade mixed with glaze medium, and I applied it in these areas, all around eyes, his mouth, on the muscles, his nipples, just to make the skin look more fleshy and living. Once this is done, I used bleached bone to dry brush the strapes and his horns. Right after that, I used dwarf bronze to paint the ring hanging on his spear, as well as the rings that he's got on the left horn. To make the figure look more bright, I used Leviathan purple wash in these areas, as well as some other touches which will be presented later on. I have used the time the wash is drying to paint the stone underneath his foot, and I paint it grey where I mixed Abaddon Black and Skull White. Right after that I wash it with nolan oil, and in the final stage I'm going to wash the stone with Traca Green and Leviathan Purple, just to make it look more colorful. In the next step I painted his necklace. As you can see, he's got several items on the necklace. Majority of them are stones, and therefore I used the gray and hawk turquoise with different mixtures. One stone can be gray, one can be darker gray, as you can see. For the lace, I used Bestial Brown. For his necklace you can use several washes. As I said before, for the stone underneath his foot, we're going to use Leviathan Purple and Traca Green, just to make it more natural. For the final stage, I'm going to do his eyes and the spear tip. I'm going to use Scorpion Green as a glow effect, which is going to be around his eyes. Since it's going to be just a glow effect, you have to make sure you have the paint really thin. Once you have the paint dried, all you need to do is to paint his eyes with white, what will create an effect of glowing eyes. We can reach the similar effect on his spear, but with different technique, this time with airbrush. First I'm going to use the Scorpion Green lightly mixed with Skull White, and then basically the opposite, Skull White lightly mixed with Scorpion Green. Once I have it done, I dry brushed his tip of the spear and the stone on the base with Skull White. Last procedure on the figure will be the oxidation effect of the bronze belt. I used glaze medium with hawk turquoise to reach this effect. I created actually a wash out of the mixture. At the very end, you can just paint his base black. Since this is a figure you're going to play with, I recommend to apply 2 coats of matte varnish. Alright, that's about it, guys. Since this is my first video, I know there are lots of mistakes I would welcome all the constructive comments from you, and I'm looking forward to create more and better videos for you. Thank you.